welcome to a continuation of our books with Al-Gazali for this week. I still have Luqman, and we still have Segun Adeniyi's Power, Politics and Death. It has taken us long to look at the book. Perhaps that is understandable because we want to give the viewer a deep insight into the contents of the book, and we try to bring new perspectives to some of the issues. We want to really make it a really learning, a worthwhile learning moment for the viewers. So even if our views and thoughts don't make any worthy learning, we strongly believe that the discussions will spark off some discussions in your various cycles, and then those of you who are truly informed may be agitated or maybe caused to look at this in a different, more in an entirely different perspective. So we've discussed quite a lot, Luqman, and I think we should try today to cover a substantial part of the book. We are not in a hurry, of course, but let us today take a step-by-step look at the book. And then I think eventually, hopefully in our next session or in subsequent ones, invite the author to, if he is available, to share his thoughts 10 years after he had written the book. What reactions, what does he feel fulfilled, what other things he would have written differently,
yes,
and other things. So I think let's take a step-by-step look at this work. The book is two parts, part 1 and part 2.
Yes.
The part 1,
the defining issues,
and the second is illness and death. All right. 9 chapters, and then 8 chapters on the
8 chapters for part 2.
Part 2.
Yes.
So the first 9 chapters constitute what Segun thinks defines the Yar'Adua presidency.
Yes.
The rule of law and that of man.
Yeah.
Chapter 1. Then chapter 2, corruption and the James Ibori saga. Then the oily affairs, chapter 3, to mean the reforms,
yes, in the
oil sector. Then the Niger Delta amnesty deal, which is of course a very key feature of the Yar'Adua presidency.
Part of his 7-point agenda.
Yeah. And one of the things we could say he had successfully achieved,
yes,
to the maximum. Then banking reform and the allied matters. Then, of course, the case of Abdul Mutallab,
yes,
and Boko Haram,
yes,
which is also another very important highlight of Yar'Adua administration. Then when counted votes don't count, what that means is the attempt of first how the election that brought in Yar'Adua, and then one other election that took place
under his
then Yar'Adua and the world, which is to mean
how world leaders and other countries look at his administration,
and how he dealt with them. Then unfulfilled dreams. That's for chapter 1. A total of 142 pages put together. Then the second part has, as chapter 1, the 10th, the early signals. Chapter 2 is illness and death.
Early signals of death.
Then the journey to Saudi Arabia, which was the beginning of
of the end.
Then the power struggle that was occasioned by the president's absence. Then the doctrine of necessity, which was instituted by the Senate when it seemed clear that something had to be done. Then, like a thief in the night, does that supposed to mean the return of the president back to the country? It was put in a quotation mark to actually mean that the term cabal could just be a media invention.
Not necessarily formal and stable.
Then the end. So this is therefore a total of 17
chapters.
We would like to take the reader through this as fast as possible. So chapter 1, the rule of law. We have tried to really look at the subject of rule of law under
late President
Yar'Adua's presidency. What struck you in the first chapter? Rule of law, and then the rule of man. Is Segun saying that there was a clash between the rule of law and the rule of man? What struck you from?
So I have even been wanting to ask why he brought that rule of law and rule of man. How is it related?
Okay, basically this is much more philosophical, speaks to philosophical debate about the supremacy of man in the face of law. His own internal, his own individualistic perception of the world, of the law, and the application of the law. So should man subject fully to law, or man should make a pick of the law to suit
his own personal whims?
Yes, and do they really clash? When one says he is committed to the rule of law, can we say that his own rule. Whenever he does something, his even if it is a case of, even if it exists in law, it is first from his mind, or that he has lost himself in the face of the law. It is not about me, President Yar'Adua, what is in the law.
Yes.
As if that choice itself is not really man-made.
Yes.
Because the choice to subject oneself to the dictates of the law is personal.
Yes, it's personal, of course.
Even the laws of God.
Yes.
It is still a matter of personal choice.
Yes.
For one to choose to submit.
Yes.
So Segun is saying that, okay, here is the rule of law, and then how did the whims and caprices of a leader clash or not with the rule of law? And he had mentioned about 7 or so instances,
yes,
in which the instances of the rule of law taking its course have been highlighted in the Yar'Adua administration, and then instances where Yar'Adua himself fell short,
yes,
of that test. I think that is basically what Segun meant. But then it is important. This makes it really important for us to have him.
Yes.
To highlight some of the.
Before we proceed, do you think when he said the rule of law and the rule of man, the two concepts here, is this state the two here in contrast or in similarity or both?
Well, when you contrast two things, then you are in essence doing three things.
Yes.
You are looking at the similarities, the differences, and then how they relate with each other.
Yes.
So there are extreme differences, then there are similarities, and then how they work against each other.
Yes.
So that is what Segun is saying.
Yes.
As far as the arguments he had, the points he had raised here had indicated.
Yes.
This is what Yar'Adua had committed himself to.
Yes.
But then how do they come in the face of difficult choices he had to make as a president?
Yes.
Because a rule of law is sometimes robotic.
Yes, it's robotic.
It is fixed. It is supposed,
yes,
and it doesn't respect friendship,
emotions, circumstances.
Yes, but then we are humans.
Yes.
Even in the application of laws, we consider quite a lot of things.
And more so that they are not divine laws.
Yes.
They are man-made laws.
Yes. Even divine laws, sometimes there is an opening.
Yes, of course, there are openings
to
circumstances.
So, if you leave me, it is much more about how one is someone in such an office.
Yes.
Is constrained.
Yes.
By all these factors: friendship, party loyalists.
Yes.
Then the nation.
Yes. Then the law.
Then the law. Even by one who made it a point of his campaign, of his government, to commit to the rule of law.
Yes.
That is one person who had made the most commitment.
Yes.
Who had made it the headline.
Yes.
Of his administration. So I think that's what Segun is saying. And here he had listed, I think I have listed a few of them out, about 7 instances, if I've gotten them all. First is the paragraph 2 of the 4th page. The first major test of this conviction, the conviction, of course, of the rule of law, emerged on June 14, 2007, when the Supreme Court restored Mr. Peter Obi as a governor of Anambra State and ordered Mr. Andy Uba, who had been sworn in as a governor just 2 weeks earlier, to vacate the government house. In a unanimous decision of the 7 justices, the Apex Court concluded that INEC went ahead to conduct elections into the office of the governor of Anambra State, despite the fact that the matter was pending in court. The court therefore held that, there being no dispute that Governor Obi took his oath of office on March 17, 2006, his tenure of office shall expire March 17, 2010. So this matter has put Yaradua's claim to rule of law to test. And how he reacted to it tells us how much he meant this thing. So
that made it more complicated, being that the Peter Obi was not from his party, and Andy Uba was ordered to vacate the office from his party.
So do you also look at it as a real test of his own commitment? What thoughts does this part strike in you? Because Yaradua refused to wade into
he refused to obstruct justice so long as the judiciary have given their final verdict. And people were expecting him to chip in, to reverse the court injunction, but he refused to.
But do you think anyone else would have done that? Because that was a clear case. It was even out in the open.
And it was from the Supreme Court.
It is from the Supreme Court. I don't think there would be any president who would want to tamper with that. So did that therefore truly mean that Yaradua had done something extraordinary?
It's not extraordinary.
But we are in a country where such things would happen, and then explanations would be applied, and then at the end of the day, after 2-3 headlines, the matter is forgotten.
Which is usual in the country.
So in a country where so many arbitrary things have been normalized, we have to give it to President Yaradua. We have to give it to President Yaradua, because that is to, well, you may also say perhaps that that was not a campaign period.
Of course,
he's already in the office. He is already in the office. He is just coming on board. He has, like 4 years ahead of him. And so, what happens in what state, which party, is not so much a problem. Most probably. But then I think we can give it to him.
And more so from what Segun explained in the chapter here. This, under normal circumstances, is not supposed to be a big deal. But then as it has become normal, as I've said.
Yes.
And we can recount that even from the military regimes.
Yes.
These kind of things
Yes.
are just normal. The head of state or the president.
That's what I'm saying. We have come from a tradition of military dictatorship.
Yes.
That was just that was 9 years after we've
ended the
military.
So if we put this on a relative scale,
yes,
we have to give him
yes. But sometimes these are the things. Nigeria is a very difficult country.
Yes, it is.
Someone will say that what type of a president is that, this is what is he doing with his power? I have read in the newspapers, I think in 2011, where a sitting governor said that he had been only applying 10% of the laws, of the powers
conferred on him
by the constitution. If he goes a little extreme, he can even kill. He told this to a journalist openly. So then how much more of a president?
Yes.
So Nigeria is a difficult country. Some people will say no, he's weak, but then the point here is that Segun made it clear that people from the party, PDP,
put a lot of pressure on him.
And then he stood his ground.
Yes.
It is very rare.
Yes.
If you look at the case in Kano in 2019, where many have said the election was rigged.
Yes.
And the president was expected to wade into the matter.
Yes.
And then
there was a lot of media use.
And then some media reports say that the governors of some state convinced the president that they cannot afford to lose Kano.
Yes.
And then everything that could be done had to be done.
Yes.
And then APC was installed again for the second time.
Yeah.
So if Buhari, who has also perpetually all his life kept on saying that he is a man of the law,
yes,
would also be convinced at that level, then Yaradua is
and when you compare Yaradua with Buhari, you say that he's a novice. Buhari he was a ruthless head of state.
Ruthless head of state now. In a mufti.
Yeah.
So now the second issue, which is of course a matter to do with Lagos State government, which had come face to face with the presidency in the
before
Yaradua, the immediate administration before Yaradua, and then a lot of the funds,
was frozen
by
the federal government.
Yes. So especially when we look at how ruthless President Obasanjo was in power, then of course some of the things Yaradua has done will hit Nigerians differently.
Exactly.
So the second matter here is about a court order in which Yaradua was the presidency was ordered to release
the funds.
The funds are 10 billion or so, 10.8 billion.
10.8 billion
for Lagos state local governments. and
President Yar'Adua abided by that call.
When it was really a very remarkable episode in Obasanjo's regime.
Yes,
he flagrantly,
wasn't on good terms.
So when you look at the circumstance in which Yar'Adua came to power, you would have thought he wouldn't do anything. He would have continued with the fight.
What his predecessor started.
Yes.
With his immediate ascension to power. Started on doing something.
Yes. And he is saying that loyalty to the rocks. This is a case of a Yar'Adua presidency and a case of rule of law. And it is no more Obasanjo and
loyalty to his boss.
Whatever. And that's true. Loyalty to Nigeria, loyalty to Nigerian constitution, loyalty to Nigerian laws is over and above every other loyalty, every other ambition, every other regional, personal or ethnic interest. So it could even be that Yar'Adua too may have had may have had a sour relationship with Lagos, but then it is now a
loyalty to Nigeria,
which I think is one key feature in everyone who aspires to become Nigeria's president. I don't know if I'm different, but I do not really ever think that anyone who aspires to become president, perhaps not these charlatans buying forms and then withdrawing tomorrow and then receiving donations, and then after they lose an election they disappear into thin air, probably only to be back next election if ever. But those who seriously pursue it, I think one would never do that if he had no loyalty to the country. That's my thought. I don't know how you look at it. But Yar'Adua exemplifies that. Yar'Adua's the early part of his regime exemplifies that.
His obedience to the rule of law.
So then the third because this Yar'Adua had consulted key lawyers to give him the advice over the matter, and then when they made it clear to him that this is the law and it is just what it is, he
abided.
Then the other matter is to do with they face off with the National Assembly on the subject of Patricia Ete, who is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. I don't quite get that, but then Segun has given us a few tidbits of what we have here, except perhaps if you can bring in your perspective of.
Why is that? Which page?
That's page 7. Guided by the notion that the rule of law also presupposes respect for the independence of each arm of government. Under the doctrine of separation of powers, the president had stayed out of the election of principal officers in the National Assembly, even when he could have picked whomever he wanted for the offices.
Yes.
He would rather not make any input, he said. So it was Obasanjo, in his capacity as the chairman of the board of trustees,
Yes,
of the PDP, who worked out the deal that saw to the emergence of David Mark as Senate President and Ete as House Speaker after his party had zoned the offices. While Mark, an experienced administrator and retired Army General, had no problem rallying the Senate, not many in the House felt comfortable with the choice of Ete, given her limited educational background and exposure. Her political naivety would become very evident when, in constituting the House committees, she didn't consider it expedient to take care of the interest of the power brokers who brought her into office. These same members, who would later become the Integrity Group, eventually pulled the rug from under her feet. In the middle of the crisis in the House, following allegations of corruption against Ete, on which the media feasted, there were calls on the president to intervene by asking the speaker to quit. I also met the president on the issue several times, and his position remained the same. He will not intervene. That is the key point.
Yes.
We must, you see, this country has a very interesting power sharing arrangement. When it is the time of election, state governors will the greatest authority.
Yes.
But when it comes to running the government, tough decisions government has to make, then the legislative arm, senators and members of the House of Representatives, are very influential.
Yes.
Now, Ete obviously marched on some toes.
Yeah.
And then the big guys came for her head.
Yes.
They brought her. Yes. She was not brought. The godfather brought her.
Yes. The godfather.
Despite her obvious weaknesses.
Yes.
In
lack of experience, and
naivety, lack of experience in the political space, poor educational background, which President Obasanjo wouldn't really bother about, given his own background in the military, the entry level, and then other things. So that even helps one to question questions Obasanjo's loyalty to the country.
Yes.
How would you impose someone who has this very obvious shortcomings on such
a leader
an
of the house?
A leader of the house? Isn't that selfish?
It is, of course.
So well, only Obasanjo knew why, but then the point is not anymore about Obasanjo but Yar'Adua, because Yar'Adua,
he has the executive power.
Yeah, by choosing to allow the members to deal with, which is what the ideal thing.
Yes, ideal.
The problem is that why should I, as a president, add to my burden.
Of course.
The burden of who
the legislature. That's their problem.
Hundreds of people. If they cannot choose one person to lead them, why would I want to? And then the majority in that house are from my party.
Yes.
Any one of them would do the biddings of the party. So let them deal with that.
Yes.
Even from a point of view of people's management and governance,
yes,
that would have been the best decision anyone.
Yes.
Why would I add that to my burden?
Put someone to like micromanage.
Yeah. So I think that also exemplifies Yar'Adua's commitment to the rule of law. At the end of the day, the members had their way.
Yes.
Took out the woman and then brought in Dimeji Bankole, who had gone down in the headlines until recently when he
emerged as the presidential aspirant.
Yeah. That should have been a big news if he hasn't lost his fame and popularity among Nigerians as one of the most active, highly talkative, cerebral speaker.
Yeah.
So the members had their way, and then Madam Patricia Ete was thrown out. That did not really still change Yar'Adua to interfere. Then the other issue is the case of deportation. I marked it as the fourth item here. There were other contentious issues also inherited by Yar'Adua that had to be resolved early in the life of the administration. One such issue was the deportation of Vasuani brothers, who had sent the president a petition, which he subsequently forwarded to the AGF, the Ministry of Interior, EFCC, Customs for their comments, while the Interior Ministry insisted that since the deportation was done on the orders of his predecessor, it should not be reviewed. EFCC said their investigations against the Vasuanis had not been completed before the deportation was effected. The decision of the federal government to deport them, as at the time it did, was therefore considered hasty, a position that had been canvassed by Prince Bola Ajibola, former Attorney General of the Federation and retired judge at the International Criminal Court in Hague. Ajibola had written the president a letter on the issue. In the end, the president kept faith with the rule of law by directing that the deportation be rescinded so that the Vasuanis could be allowed a return to the country to answer to whatever charges were brought against them by the relevant authorities. That is clear.
Yes.
These were foreign business people involved in some illegal activities, and they were deported before a final investigation will be concluded on them. Probably it was done to protect certain interests.
Yes.
As a ploy to truncate the investigation. And then after receiving consultations from appropriate authorities, the president went back on the decision and then allowed the relevant authorities to take it to the end. So I think that also is another very presidential display of what rule of law should be about. Yeah. So then there is also the Ibeto Cement Company, which I have marked here as a fifth instance of where the president's commitment to rule of law had come to test. In similar vein, the president also resolved the dispute between the federal government and Ibeto Cement Company, which had been shut down by the Obasanjo government on grounds that were considered spurious. But perhaps the most critical issue was the case of the contract awarded for the construction. Okay, I do not know how this matter was resolved, but Segun here mentioned it as another subject of a case of rule of law. So he didn't see any reason why he should give explanation of what had happened. He only mentioned that the matter was resolved.
Yes.
Then the other matter is the primary health care centers in the 774 LGA, which I think brought the federal government in a war of words with I think the state governors,
yes,
the LGS, and what have you. I think the matter was about
funds would be taken from the local government allocation, and primary health care will be built on their behalf. The state governments, state governors didn't want that.
Why? I think this book has covered it.
Yes, he has given explanation.
That about 48 billion or so would be taken from 48 million was taken from the allocations of the local governments every month.
Yes.
Throughout the period of the project. I think that is what
the premise was.
Well, at the end of the day, the matter was resolved. I'm interested in how the matter was resolved. I understood there was a lot of muzzle flexing between the presidency, ALGON, which is the Association for Local Government Councils, and the project was to cost about 37 billion for the 774 primary health care centers. That was terminated after a meeting of the National Economic Council
headed by the VP.
Yes, in 2007, December 9. So this was a decision taken by the previous administration. To the seventh item here. Okay, I think the other issue is to do with is it a new currency? Naira denomination, which was pushed forward by by Soludo.
Charles Soludo.
Yes.
CBN governor.
Yes. I think we'll discuss this matter better on the
banking reforms
and how Sanusi Lamido was brought in as the CBN governor. So Lukman, you've had these 7 different things. I've seen 7. I don't know if you've seen more, but these 7 things, how do they strike you as a representation of President Yar'Adua's commitment to rule of law? And how does it speak to our earlier conversation about the rule of law and then the rule of man?
Yes.
Yeah. So how does this strike you?
Just like we said,
yes.
When we see from the points you mentioned,
yes.
that the author
yes.
mentioned about the resolve of the president on his obedience to the rule of law.
Yes.
Some of them are actually tests.
Yes.
They are like significant, extraordinary.
Yes.
And some of them, as we discussed,
yes.
if in a saner climb or in an ideal climb, they are not they are not things that would be considered so lauded or something like that. But when you put it in a relative scale, as we said, compared to maybe his predecessor or how the country finds itself, as much as these are little things, but then behind the scenes there are a lot of pressure that that the president had to stand his ground. Yes. For him either to stay back and allow the law to take its course. Yes.
Or to take a decision dictated
by the law,
provisions
of the law. Exactly.
Yeah.
So this, as you said, Nigeria is a very difficult country to. You can't just become the president and you just obey the rule of law. The court says this, and then you just abide by that easily without having made media backlash or the cabal in quotes. Or the big wigs from your party that brought you to power.
Absolutely.
So, and more so like Yar'Adua, as he stated that he was anointed, he was brought in by his predecessor. Yes. General Obasanjo. Yes. And more so, the election that brought him to power is flawed. Yes. So they would expect him to abide by what the party dictates, or what his predecessor who brought him to power dictates. But notwithstanding, a lot of things that his predecessor sanctioned during his time as the president, he reversed them. So you see, he tried to be independent from his predecessor. I think we should give him that.
Okay, so now we should say that Yar'Adua goes down as one of Nigeria's presidents who had made the most commitment to the subject of rule of law. Yes. And that what appeared to have been a very rewarding presidency was truncated by unceremonious exit.
Another thing, when you look at Nigeria, as at the time when he was the president, all these things he has been doing, maybe he would have been receiving a lot of criticism by the public.
The media, absolutely,
as if he is the worst thing that has happened to Nigeria.
Absolutely.
Then what will come after him? Then people have started appreciating what he has done. Yes. So when he was alive, when he was the president, all these things he has been doing were not significant.
Were not newsworthy.
Then worse happened after him. So in Nigeria, everything is relative.
Yes, and you know, when we were responding, you made a very interesting mention of Senate climbs. I think that is something we do that is not fair to the Nigerian state. When we draw conclusions and make comparisons, we don't do them by Nigerian standard. We say Senate climbs. What is a Senate? Which part of the world represents that? Which part of the world represents the moral badge of this world, or or is on the top of the pyramid in terms of governance? And every country has its own standards and experiences.
Yes.
Why don't we make our judgments based on Nigerian standard? Don't forget, we come from from a culture that is 1,000 years and even beyond.
Yes.
And we had built some of the most sophisticated, elaborate political systems.
Yes.
We had some of the greatest rulers the world had seen.
Yes.
We had people setting up a new system from scratch.
Yes.
Which ran for centuries.
Yes.
I'm sure you may have read Maury Last's work in 1999, in which a paper, I think he had delivered at the anniversary of, I think, late Ado Bayero in Kano, in which he tried to look at how the Sokoto Caliphate would have been in 99 if it was not disrupted by the colonial masters.
Yes.
How it would have been in 99 if it had continued to thrive. Yes, but that was and how did the native authority even governed their local? How did they strike a balance between the laws of the colonial powers and then the traditional
laws,
religious laws, and so many other things? But even before that, how about the Borno Empire, which had a long history of political development, governance? How about the Yoruba land, Oyo Empire, the egalitarian Igbo land, the Nupe land, and quite a lot of things? So why don't we make our judgments from Nigerians?
I think you have already answered the question you're asking.
Okay.
In the sense that, when you mentioned that when we say Sena climb, what simply will come to someone's mind will be maybe comparing our country to the Western powers. Probably.
Yes.
But then when you look at Nigeria, taking us back into history, the West brought in the phenomenon of Nigeria. We had that, like you mentioned, like the Kanem Borno Empire that is for more than 1,000 years in history, with its territories extending beyond Africa.
Far and wide.
Yes. It had a very structured political system that even it was feared. Mai Musa, who was killed by Mai Hume, yes, because of he felt threatened by the Kanumbu, and like this Sultanate of Sokoto. We had that very strong empires here in Nigeria before we had Nigeria, of course. So we don't even have to compare ourselves with the West, because they created our problem.
That system, the Sokoto
Caliphate. He was a blue-blooded prince.
Yes, he comes from that background.
Yes.
He is from Katsina. Katsina is a star state of the Sokoto Caliphate.
Yes.
So Yaradua has a lot to be judged for. If you look at the history of the Sokoto Caliphate, how is he close to the ideals of Sultan Bello, of the polymath Abdullah Gondu, Muhammad Bello, the Sheikh himself?
Yes.
Does he really represent some of the ideals they had practiced, promoted? And so I think we are not the people who had no history.
Of course.
We should be making judgments
from our own history,
from our own standards.
Yes.
And I think this is what Mahmoud Tukur had drawn attention to in his book, The Relevance of Value.
Yes.
One of the most elaborate works on Nigeria's compatibility or not with Western systems, and why the systems would naturally come to clash. It's just like the clash of civilization argument of who is that? Clash of civilization.
Yes.
And so I think these discussions help us to understand the Nigerian mindset.
Yes.
And we have to make intentional effort to instigate a reform of our mindset.
Yes.
Based on our own standard.
I think this should be a topic of discussion that we should dissect this further in another
Absolutely,
sitting.
Absolutely.
Yes, because it's going to be a very interesting discussion. And also that this is about history. I think we'll learn a lot from it.
Yeah, so thank you very much. These discussions are always like that. We will think you are just spending 10 minutes only to have your producer wave at you that you are running out of time.
Yes.
So thank you very much for being part of this. Unfortunately, we are only one chapter into this work, but in any case, we should try our best to invite Segun to join us virtually, so that we would get his own explanations for some of the things that really matter in this work. Thank you very much for being part of this discussion, and you can surely keep a date with us in subsequent weeks for more interesting discussions. After this book, we have quite a lot of other books to look at in history, politics, theology, philosophy, evolution of the Nigerian state, evolution of the political system, and quite a lot of things. So thank you from me and Lukman Buba Umdagas, who is the CEO of Al-Hakim Bookstores. You will do well to also check it out with Al-Hakim Bookstores for very interesting books. Our review of this work is all thanks to the bookstore for being there. So I really recommend that you check it out. Thank you.